see. As you can see, we've got the brand new Rlaarlo rally car. Pardon my mess out here on the table. I've been working on a large-scale project, which I should, the unboxing I did before the Vesla, and should have the finished build video coming out very soon. But just to give you an idea of how big that project is, this is the spur gear, and it's, it's freaking heavy. I mean, it seriously is heavy. The stock one that it comes with is plastic. This is the optional hardened steel one, lay shaft slipper. But as you can see, this thing is huge. I mean, it's bigger than a hockey puck. So that's the project I'm working on. That's why everything's such a mess. But sorry if the crinkling noise is really loud on video, but I actually wanted to remove this on video so everyone can see how incredible looking this car really is. I obviously have not put any of the included stickers on since I just peeled it off, but I mean, Rlaarlo did an absolutely fantastic job. Obviously they're not, they're still not doing licensing, and a big part of that is to save money so that they can afford to sell the vehicles for less. What would normally be a certain American brand with an F, 4-letter, here it says Rlaarlo. They really did a good job on this. Now, I did already remove some screws, so notice I'm, the normal way this opens, as you've probably seen in many unboxing videos, is that it flips up like this. But it is removable, and as many have seen, I mean, they did a great job of routing the wiring. The one thing that I'll be honest I don't like is the wiring from the rear tail light to the exhaust. Kind of goes up and out and sticks down. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to reroute it underneath, or I'm going to flip it under this wire, twist it around so that it stays close to the body. So speaking of being able to flip that body, there are really two ways to remove the body to work on it. Now, the way that they probably expect people to do is to remove the two screws from this side that are holding this piece on, and removing these 4 screws, 2 on this side, 2 on that side. That allows you to remove this entire piece. And that, honestly, that's not that difficult to do. But the easier way of doing it is, I don't know if you can see it right here, 3, and on the inside of the body, you see 3 screws, half the number of screws. Part of the reason why I wanted to get this body off ahead of time is and what this video is really about, it's not going to be really about the XTS-F10. As the title of the video says, a pre-trip checklist. And for anyone else who has a CDL, commercial driver's license, for those that aren't familiar with that term, a pre-trip checklist is something that you do to your vehicle every day that you work before you drive off. There are a number of things that you need to check. And I think that, the same should be applied to every new ready-to-run or roller that you get. There are certain things that you should literally check on every vehicle before you ever run it for the first time. And what I'm going to start with is this rotating piece that actually allows you to do the flip. Because what I discovered is that these 2 side screws are a little too tight, and so when you go to flip it up, it's almost like it's so tight that it's ratcheting. It moves a little, stops, moves a little, stop. It keeps on moving a little, stop. So what you want to do is you want to loosen both screws until this is just super smoothly free-flowing, and similar into how you would adjust an anti-sway bar. Just slowly tighten one side until it is just starting to get too tight where you get that little ratcheting feeling, and then just back it off maybe a quarter turn, and then go for the other side and do the same thing. Just tighten it, and as long as it remains smooth like this, you're good. At the moment it starts to get that little tightness, stop, back it off a quarter turn. From that point, that should be really good to go. Next thing you want to check on every vehicle is shocks and your diffs. You want to check them to make sure that they are filled. Obviously with the diffs, you don't want them totally filled up. They should be filled enough where you can put the cap on and nothing comes out. Basically figure about, so with the inside, sorry, I'm blanking here right now, but the gear that actually leads to the main drive, that'll obviously be, actually, sorry, wrong, gear to one side or the other. It should be filled to the point that it is above the pins, the cross pins. That would be a properly filled diff. Anything less, you need to add fluid. If it's filled too much, then once you tighten it, you're actually going to end up having diff fluid coming out. It'll squeeze out, and that, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's definitely not good. The shocks, you want to make sure that they're filled, so when you put the cap on, you probably bleed them. And the reason I mention that is, if you listen, that's actually a very well done shock. The same with this one. Or is it? Actually, yeah, this one. But when you get to the rear right on mine, I don't know if you can hear that, there's definitely air in that. So this one is going to need to be filled, but I'm going to be checking all four anyways, just to make sure. So that's the second thing you want to check. The fourth thing, and this is a really big one, and not to get on Rlaarlo's case because their vehicles are outstanding. The quality of the parts is excellent. Unfortunately, when it comes to putting them together, I have a feeling that some of the people in the factory are rushing. So it's better to take a little time and get it right. And what I'm talking about is the screws. Rlaarlo and some other companies, Traxxas has done it, Losi has done it, is for screws that are going into metal, they sometimes tend to put on too much Loctite, and it makes getting the screws off incredibly difficult, sometimes even impossible. You can end up stripping out the hex, you can shear, basically strip the inside, the threading. So another thing is that you'll find that sometimes the screws are not totally tightened. So you want to check every screw, and I know that's a lot of screws to go over, but honestly you really should be checking every screw to make sure that they are properly tightened, that they are not over tight. And I mentioned over tight again because I forget, I think it was the mounting the bulkheads, the front and rear bulkheads. I think those screws are in a little too tight. Some people have reported that they're overly tight. So again, you want to make sure that everything is properly tight, not too loose, not over tightened. And again, for anything going into, any screws going into metal, you want to make sure that they have thread lock on them and not too much. Biggest culprits, culprit areas of that, I should say, is where the grub screw, or not grub, yeah, the grub screw that is holding the pinion onto the motor shaft. They, a lot of companies, again, not to single out any one company, but a lot of companies tend to sometimes put on way too much. I mean, we're talking like a massive amount that it almost bonds the grub screw to the pinion. So, again, these are just things that you want to pre-check on every vehicle.